probably more interest in this gentleman than any other person in this country, and probably with good thinking. John F. Kennedy, Jr., he is the mastermind, he and his co-founder and executive publisher, Michael J. Berman, of this extraordinary magazine, George, which is a hoot of a magazine. I thought you were a lawyer.
I was.
What happened?
Well, we decided, I mean, actually taking cue from folks like yourself and you around the 1992 election, that there was an opportunity here to change the definition of a political magazine. Certainly the way Americans were accessing information about politics and politicians was changing. Candidates were appearing on late-night talk shows, on talk radio, on sitcoms, and there was a kind of a leveling process, and while the rest of media clearly had caught up with that, we felt that political magazines, per se, hadn't. And so while you had all this interest on it that you could really could point to with statistics and facts, we thought, well, here's an opportunity to do a different kind of political magazine.
Didn't you want to be a lawyer?
I was a lawyer for 7 years. Well, yeah, 3 in law school and 4 in the DA's office.
You were a DA. By the way, how did the DA do in the Simpson trial, do you think, in this wind-up?
I think the DA did very well.
Darden and Marcia?
I think so. It's obviously a case, enormous scrutiny and a huge challenge, but I think that they did very well.
And Cochran, impressive?
Absolutely, from day one.
Okay, would he be a tough adversary if you were back in the old? I'm glad you're not, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're a prosecutor. You're on your way. Legal runs through your whole family. Uncle Attorney General, your father a lawyer, other uncle a lawyer. Why magazine?
Well, I mean, one of the things that you sort of have to understand about this enterprise is that the opportunity to do an entrepreneurial venture, to really start to take a big risk, and to have an idea and see it through and develop it and nurture it. And as we went along, I mean, there were plenty of opportunities where we could have said, well, this idea isn't going to work. But what kept happening was that we would get feedback, or when we tested it, we would get a certain response to the direct mail, which said, wow, you know, there's something here.
But in you, there was always this editor-writer wannabe?
I'm not sure, no. No, and I think that, you know, Michael and I kind of came, I think really what happened was there was a synergy. He came at it from a really marketing point of view and said, there is an unfilled marketing niche here. And I had come from my family. We had always been sort of grew up around politics, that it was a fascinating way to spend one's career. And I had been always kind of interested in how you could get that idea out to more people, because as I grew older, it became clear that not that many people shared that view.
It was also a family that liked the press, generally, commiserated with the press,
yeah,
enjoyed
I think the generation before me, more so.
But are you now, this is it? This is going to be your life, editing, publishing, magazines, writing, is that it?
Well, I mean, starting a magazine is a huge enterprise. We were 2 years in starting this, and we started it ourselves. And now that Hachette is our partners in it, there is a considerable investment. We have a staff. So this is a big enterprise, and it's enormously exciting for both of us. So this is what we're doing, you know.
For the time being, or you want to stay with it?
Well, I would hate to say I'm going to do anything till I'm 70, but I'm going to be doing this for the foreseeable future.
Who named it?
We both did. I mean, one of the challenges for us was how you come up with a magazine about politics that somehow gets around the word politics, because there is this reflexive response, I think, when people hear the word politics. They have a judgment about it, and they say, well, that's not for me, or that's that kind of magazine. And what we're really very interested in is trying to include a different group of people to buy this.
But it implies, by its title, the cover using that beautiful girl with dressed as George Washington, Cindy. Yeah. It implies that it's mostly humor. And now, while there's a lot of humor, it is also very well written and edited.
Well, thank you.
But this looks like this is going to be parody.
Well, maybe, but it's not intended. I mean, one of the things about George Washington as an American icon is that he is both a very serious historical figure as well as somewhat a subject of parody. And what we wanted to do was make it accessible and make it familiar and create an identity, an independent identity for this magazine. And and to suggest that there was something different going on here. And I think the name is the first thing that you see, and I think the name does it.
Press reaction generally been pretty good. Some critics, some didn't like the idea of doing this on the cover. Did you have any second thoughts about that?
Well, we always felt, and when Michael and I were talking, that if you're going to do a magazine about the intersection of politics and popular culture, you might as well come out and do it, and not mess around and say you're doing one thing, but yet try to be serious. And we said, well, listen, this is what we're about, so we're not going to leave any doubt what we're about.
Okay, and in it, you talked to George Wallace, a very good interview, by the way.
Thank you.
But you also have President Madonna.
Yes.
Who came up with that idea?
Well,
you did.
The last page of it.
You did.
Sure.
Okay. The idea being?
Well, the idea being is that on the last page of the magazine, it's called If I Were President. And everyone always says, if I were president, this is what I would do. And we would like people from a variety of fields, from business, from entertainment, from law, from you name it, to write that what would they do if they had the big job.
So this last page is going to be reserved for someone, celebrity type.
Celebrity type, or someone that people would want to hear from.
And what they would do with president.
What they would do if they were president.
Will we, or do we set a concept here where the feature on Louis Freeh of the FBI, very well done. Will there always be some kind of profile like that?
Well, I think you have to do a political magazine. You have to have it's a clumsy word, but an impactful person. Someone who, and we felt for this one that Louis Freeh was a fascinating person. He's from New York. So I was familiar with him when he was a judge. He's head of the FBI, which is going through enormous changes right now. It's this sort of pristine American governing institution. I mean, they've had some difficulties lately, certainly with Ruby Ridge, but he hadn't been done much, and it was fascinating for us to do that.
Are we always going to have a Q&A?
By me or by
is there going to be a standard Q&A?
Yeah.
Are you going to do most of them?
I'll do them for a while, and we sort of hadn't made a policy, but I mean, I'm part of this magazine. I've sold it certainly as coming from Michael and I, and so I'm comfortable being out front with it and doing that. Unless they get deadly boring.
George Wallace, an intriguing choice. Who's second?
Who's second? Well, you'll have to read the next.
You come out every 2 months, right?
Come out.
So then you've probably done the second one already.
We haven't actually. We're kind of a bubblegum and shoestring operation.
You haven't done the second. I thought it was all laid out months ahead.
Well, not that this is a startup. We got a group of people that drink a lot of coffee, and we'll have it out on time. Though.
Will there be Kennedy critiques?
I mean, I think that it's certainly a reasonable question. If you're going to write about politics, every now and then there's going to be a Kennedy who's going to
somewhere in it
write about it. So I think there should be. We're not going to go out of our way. Certainly there's enough people that write about the Kennedys without us joining in.
We'll be right back with John F. Kennedy Jr. Magazine George is now everywhere, and it's really fun and delight and very informative. We'll be right back.